Well, Ike, it's kind of surreal because the first time I was at this show, I really came here for your podcast.
Yeah.
And I also came to check out the show to see if we wanted to get a booth. And guess what? 1 year later, here we are with the booth, and you're
and your own podcast.
My own podcast. So it is.
So you're really glutton for punishment.
I know, right? But you know what? It's so much fun being able to chat with people and learn about them. And like this has been an interesting because at home we do like an in studio, like we do a lot of research on the guests. We have in-depth conversations. This we were like, hey, let's do like 15 to 30 minutes. And it's been like this flow where we don't know a lot about each person. So it's been a totally different thing, but it's turned out so much fun as well. So why don't you talk a little bit about you and what you do? And I know you're a big hunter, but let's get into it.
I don't know where you want me to start. I was born in 19...
Okay.
Well, we can start with you have a hat similar to mine.
Yeah, that's right. We both have helmets.
Big hats.
Yeah.
My wife calls this my hard hat because I'm kind of retarded, so I need a hard hat. She's like, put your helmet on. I'm like, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're right.
So I grew up in Wyoming. I've never lived in another state, but I grew up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, actually. And when Jackson was an actual cow town, small town, 7,000 people lived there. My great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents, I'm fifth generation from that place. And it was a wonderful place to grow up because we had the elk refuge. We had, I don't remember not skiing. I mean, I skied in between my mom's legs when I could barely stand up. We had, all the river systems and all that stuff. But the hunting was unbelievable. As a kid, you take it for granted, right? I mean, out our back door, we duck hunt and deer hunt. And I mean, it was a paradise for an outdoor kid. And then my parents in 1987 went broke, actually. And there was a housing bubble in that time frame. And my dad was a contractor building homes, really high-end custom homes. The interest rate went from like 9% to 23% overnight pretty much and took him out. And so we moved from Jackson, lost our home in Jackson, and moved to Thermopolis, Wyoming, which is a speck in the dirt, middle of Wyoming. World famous for its hot springs, largest hot springs in the world, they claim. But it also is a paradise. It's got a huge river. Some of the best fly fishing in the country is on that river. And so I grew up there in high school, 8th grade through high school. And, just outside, that's about the same time my parents started our company. And our company's Eastmans Hunting Journals. It was a magazine, was the flagship. We still have that magazine, but it's morphed into, we have a bow hunting magazine. We have a TV show on the Outdoor Channel. We have we have digital TV shows, Beyond the Grid, which is on YouTube. We have a Wingman, which is all wing shooting on YouTube, and Outdoor America. And then we started our podcast in 2016, and now we have 6 of them. I host one that's you were on mine, and we just talked about your life.
Yes,
we talked about where, your military and all the fun stuff.
Yeah. Physics,
quantum physics, which was, I got a lot of comments still like, is he really a physicist? I was like, yeah. And I learned more about physics in 15 minutes than I did all through high school or college.
He likes to lord it over us at the shop. Yeah, oh, well, you do have a physics degree? I don't. Then I'm right. Okay.
Then you know nothing.
Okay.
Then why are we even talking?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then, so we do that. We've been doing it since 1987. And we're at the Salt Lake hunting show. I tell people, they're like, how long have you been doing this? I said, well, I was 5 the first time I was at this show. It used to be called the Deer Classic. And in this exact building, I slept underneath the booth, the table at the booth as a kid. So I've been doing this a long time. But yeah, so I have a degree in business from University of Wyoming. And I was a banker for like 5 years and did credit analyst stuff, which was a lot of fun. I tell people I did case studies on business and how to do business and how not to do business for 5 years, which allowed me the opportunity to come back to our company with a lot of knowledge, finance knowledge. And I actually bought the company from my parents, which allowed them to retire. I bought it from them in 2008. And I've been running it ever since.
So you're managing all these publications and all the social media. Man, that must be busy.
I don't do anything.
You
ask my employees,
he talks about physics.
Yeah.
Hey, you didn't run our credit before you came here.
Yeah, I know, right?
Maybe.
He's like, Secret banker.
But no, I came back and I have a really good team. A lot of guys and gals that do all of that stuff. And we have each division or each group has a group lead. And in fact, my right hand man, my COO, always says they'll look at me and go, "So what do you do there?" And he'll go, "We don't really know."
Yeah,
that's a good question.
That's the common answer of a boss, of a CEO or an owner. Oftentimes, like, I don't really. Well, what do you do? I'm not 100% sure. Like, I do a lot of these weird things. I put out fires, But
I was shipping a few minutes ago because that guy got sick. Got to clean the bathroom in a few minutes.
Whatever needs to be done, that's what I do. Right? Yeah.
I always call myself the cleanup crew.
Yeah. We don't care as long as you keep signing the checks.
Well, that's true. That's true. So couple cool adventures. One of the things that our family is known for is obviously Western hunting, but we're really adventurous. And my grandfather started that in 1957 when he started filming in Alaska. Mm-hmm. He was filming wildlife, and then he'd bring it back down to the lower 48 and he'd live narrate it. And people were seeing sheep for the first time and caribou and polar bears and all that stuff. And so he kind of instilled in us the adventure side of all of our personalities. And so that's one of the things, that's the thing I love about this is hunting is such an adventure. Mm-hmm. Every time you go out, even if it's, I took my two girls and my wife to South Africa this year, and they were able to hunt some plains game. And we had a really cool rhino experience where they darted a rhino and they were moving him. And so I got to pick up $1 million worth of rhino horn in my hands.
Wow.
As he's sitting there breathing. And
wow.
I did a film on it on YouTube, but it's so cool to see one of those 6,000 pound animals. And he was running straight at us at the truck at one point, and they had to bring a helicopter in and pushed him off. And then when he actually tipped over, they drill a hole in his horn and they put a microchip in it so that they know, and they take a DNA sample so they know no matter where that horn ends up, they know what animal it came from and where, tracks that animal across the world. But the funny thing is how they get him back standing is they give him some potion that gives him half of what it is. So he's like a drunk rhino, and they get him stood up and they put a rope around his nose and one around his back leg. And there's 150 vet students from America, and they literally get him to stand up and they lead him into a trailer, and he's wild. I mean, he's as wild as the day is long. They lead him into this steel trailer and put a bar behind him and a bar over him so he can't jump out and he can't back up. And then they give him another cocktail so he doesn't tip over when they're pulling him around. And then when they get where he's going, they give him another cocktail. Wow. I asked the vet, I go, "How many rhinos did you kill before you guys figured out how much of what to give them at what time?" He goes, "A lot."
A lot.
Yeah, is there anything more dangerous than a rhino? Yes, a drunk rhino.
A drunk rhino. If you've ever been in a bar with a really drunk guy, a big drunk
with
guy.
A big horn,
exactly.
A 6,000 pound drunk guy with a horn on him.
Yeah,
I'm curious about rhinos. They're this mysterious mystique animal. How many are there in the world, and where do they live?
When they started doing this in the 90s, there was less than 150 of them. And there's two different types of rhino. There's a white rhino and a black rhino. And you can tell the difference. White rhino, their top lip is flat. A black rhino, their top lip is like a turtle. It's pointed because they eat different stuff. The black rhino is the hardest. It's the one that's really still in danger. There's only a couple hundred of them. And when they started this program, there was like 6 of them. Now there's 4,000 white rhinos across Africa, and they've done, U.S. and other countries have dumped a ton of money into getting them back to a sustainable population. And now they're to a sustainable population, but they're still worth a ton of money. I mean, literally one horn's worth $1 million.
What do they do with this horn? Just for decoration, or is there some magic?
No. Oh gosh. So I got in this conversation with the PH that we had also owns the helicopters that they dart these rhinos out of. So I got in the conversation over a couple brandies one night, and I said, what exactly do they do with them? And they cut 1 gram of horn is worth $160, and they sell it on the black market through Vietnam to Chinese guys. And it is it's not an aphrodisiac. It's a male enhancement drug. but it's not a drug. All it does is irritate the urethra. When they put it in a drink and they drink it, and it goes in their stomach and goes into the urine system, and it irritates their urethra and gives them male enhancement. Let's call it
irritates your urethra, and then you're paying fortune for this. Like,
well, here's the worst part.
Irritate.
It sounds like you need antibiotics for it. Is what
I'm
you
like,
need. Yeah.
what's wrong with the blue pill, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, here's the worst part. You do it twice, you get cancer down there.
Holy
and you know
cow.
how you know how you cure the cancer? This is stupid. You take the same gram, chew it up, and swallow it, and you do that 4 times, and the cancer goes away.
Wow. That's insane.
Like, this is-
the whole thing's insane.
Yeah.
The whole
Well,
process.
the crazy thing, and this is what people really need to know, is rhinos. So they have these guys they got 4,000 rhinos, and they cut the horns off constantly, because once they cut the horns off, then that ensures that rhino is going to live. That poachers aren't killing them anymore.
Oh yeah.
It'll cost almost $350,000 a year to keep a rhino alive because of guards and all the crazy stuff. Well, these guys have all these rhino horns, and they're in secret locations under, guards and crazy security. And these guys have hundreds of millions of dollars in freaking rhino horns. And right now they're trying to get it legal. Their thought is, we have all this rhino horn. It's a renewable resource. Every 3 years, we can cut $1 million of rhino horn off each one of these things and sell it in the black market. Well, who cares what they're doing with it? So there's a big push, and actually Butch Whiting, who you just had on from Cryptic, he went on a excursion a couple months before I did to another place where they have 300 rhinos, and they're really making a big push trying to get it to be legal. So that's the rhino
4,000 rhinos still sounds like a little amount of.
Well, they think because they're very territorial and they take a lot of country. I mean, 6,000 pound animal, that's a lot of grass, right?
Yeah.
They think that the max they ever had was like 7,000 because they don't live everywhere.
Yeah. Where do they live?
So they have them in Namibia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, some in Botswana. It's basically South Africa, southern portion of the continent, because they take a very arid climate.
So when you cut these horns off, that apparently doesn't affect them being able to protect themselves, get food, anything like that?
No, because they're all in captivity, so they don't really have,
Oh, they are in captivity. They're not in the wild.
All high fenced, and it's crazy. It's 20-foot tall, electrified high fence, and then for 4 feet on the ground, 8 inches above the ground is another 4 feet of electrified fence, so that they can't just cut the fence across. It's crazy, but it's very, very regulated. When we were doing this, they had 2 guys from the government and 2 security guards that were pretty well armored. Let's put it that way.
Wow. That's crazy. I had no idea that they were in captivity. So at some point they got to. Oh, they're protecting them. I guess the poachers are so bad. If you let them out of there, they're done again.
Well, the PH that I had, his name was Xander Osmer. He had just, right before we got there, he had just sold his last rhino, and he said on a weekly basis, because I did this whole thing with these anti-poaching group that's walking around on his preserve. It's like 6 of them just walking around with armed guards, is what they are, protecting these things. And he said it's at least twice a week these guys are killing poachers that are trying to cross the fence.
Crazy.
That's $1 million. I mean, that's a game changer for these people.
And you said they grow back.
Yeah,
every
3
takes
years.
3 grow back. So.
Yeah.
But the poachers don't have the secret cocktail, so they have to actually kill the rhino to be able to,
they can't tip them over and cut them off, so they just kill the rhino.
It's not like cow tipping.
Yeah, they just
It's not like
that's a different deal.
Totally different thing. Yeah.
And I assume rhinos probably don't have any natural predators besides us. Besides those
No,
poachers.
so the lions won't screw with them because they're 6,000 pounds, and their hide is. I mean, it's
like armor.
Their hide is as thick as this table. It's crazy.
And
Absolutely.
They're just a battering ram too. I'm sure with that big.
Even if without a horn.
Yeah. How do the poachers kill them? I mean, I can imagine it would
them.
Like big caliber though.
Yeah.
What caliber do you have to use?
416.
Yeah, big old
375. Most of those guys use 375 because it's one of the first big calibers to ever hit Africa, and the ammo's everywhere. But yeah, 375. And now, because suppressors are legal, I mean, you can buy them like you buying a soda over the counter over there. So they all use suppressed. So they don't even know the rhinos are dead until a couple of days they find one, one with the head cut off.
So are any of the poachers able to get kind of through that barrier and poach them, or are they pretty well protected?
No, they when we were there, the anti-poachers that I interviewed, they had just killed a guy 2 nights before that was in. So what they do, sneaky buggers, they get across the fence and then they'll live in that preserve for 2 or 3 days and just find the rhinos and then find where the anti-poachers are and sneak attack and then cut the horn off, saw the horn off, throw it in a bag to a guy that's on the other side of the fence. And the guy on the other side of the fence, they got to trust him because he could just run off with them. The guy that the 2 guys that died when we were there, the guy on the other side of the fence killed him.
Whoa.
So he got the whole horn himself.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
like
so you're saying, you're saying these the anti-poachers, the people that are there to protect the rhinos, if they kill somebody, like that's what they're doing. It's a shoot to kill. We're not calling the law. We're gonna handle ourselves.
No,
there's no penalty
life
for
over
those
there.
guys?
No,
because you're
protecting a rhino.
Okay, all right.
Life over there is
That's
foreign
crazy.
countries.
Yeah,
people don't understand. Life over there is not respected like ours.
Yeah,
they don't care. Oh, you're killing a rhino, you're dead. Steal something, cut your arm off. It's okay.
Yeah.
Don't do dumb things. You want dumb prizes? Do dumb things.
That's right.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt to bring that style over here
For a little bit.
For a little bit, you know.
I'm not saying that's not a bad plan.
I'm saying sometimes those smaller countries, they're doing things right. Sometimes, you know.
It's weird they don't have transgender issues over there.
That is so weird.
My gosh.
USAID probably tried to fund it, but
right?
it's never caught on.
We're not funding it anymore. I hear.
There's some guy that's like
50 million condoms or whatever.
Yeah, $50 million worth of condoms.
My question to that is, do you have to teach them how to use them?
I know it's.
Yeah, what are they like?
I don't.
Party favors, or what are they doing with them?
What is this? Are these water balloons? We can throw like crazy.
I know. Well, Ike, I know these are short and sweet, but I appreciate you being on.
Yeah.
And
thanks for having me.
Enjoy the show.
Yeah, you
really, really happy to get to know you. Like last podcast we did, it was me talking about me. Now it's you talking about you. Now I know more about you.
We talked about rhinos.
Yeah, we'll have you on
right.
again. We'll talk about physics.
Yeah.
No, yeah, let's do that.
So study up.
We'll let him talk. We'll just go, oh, really?
We'll
I
just
didn't know
be
that.
Oh, here he goes.
Yeah, here
1
he goes
plus
again.
1 is 2, right?
Well, let me.
Well, thanks, guys.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good to see you.